Welcome to Nightmare Echoes. Listen, scream, and embrace your horror obsession. I'm your host, Eleazar, and in this episode, Jesse joins me to dive into Scream 4. How does this movie balance honoring the original with updating the story for a new generation? What changed after the test screenings? And can we talk more about Stab 5 having time travel? Because I want to know that plot. If you dare follow us, all links are in the description. Also, today's my birthday, and if you'd like to wish me a happy one, on social media is where to do it. Monday on the podcast, Scream 2022. But for now, a movie that reminds us, some family reunions end in hugs, others end in homicide. Scream 4. Hello everybody, welcome back to Nightmare Echoes. I'm your host Eleazar. I'm joined again by Jesse. Jesse, how's it going?
It is going absolutely screamtastic.
That's amazing. As we're covering Scream 4, otherwise known as Scream-Forum, according to that title card when it pops up. It came out in 2011. It is an hour and 51 minutes long, and it's Wes Craven's last movie he directed while he was alive.
All right.
Yeah, he came back. They thought after the trilogy was wrapped they were going to be done, but Kevin Williamson thought he'd write another script. Wes Craven really liked it, so they called Neve Campbell, and she said, well, since Wes is calling me, might as well come back. And they said it felt really cool because it had been 11 years, but she worked so much with Courtney Cox and David Arquette that it just felt like natural to come back and work with the whole family again, which I think is kind of cool.
That is.
But for this reboot, sort of, it's a continuation, but they're calling it a reboot throughout this whole movie. We add some new younger characters. We got Emma Roberts as Jill Roberts. She's from Aquamarine and American Horror Story. We got Hayden Panettiere as Kirby, who I love from Heroes. Save the Cheerleader, Save the World. Did you watch Heroes?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Then we have Marley Sheldon as Deputy Judy Hicks. She was in Planet Terror. And Rory Culkin as Charlie. He was from Signs.
Is he must be related to Macaulay Culkin, right?
Yeah, they're three brothers.
Okay. Because he looks just like him. So I was
they do.
There's no way he's not related.
And then there's a lot of other people throughout this whole thing that I think are fun additions, like Adam Paquin, Kristen Bell, Anthony Anderson, and Adam Brody. The movie had a budget of $40 million and made $97.2 million, so it made its money back, which is good. The movie opens up in a not so shocking way with a beautiful girl answering the phone.
And I'm wondering, right at the beginning, I'm like, okay, what are they going to do here? Because the first movie was already a self-contained parody, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then the second movie was like, well, okay, we'll just do a thing about sequels.
Yes.
And the third movie is like, okay, we'll do a thing about trilogies.
Right.
And I'm like, what are they going to do now? Like,
Right.
how are they going to play this? They've already parodied every way you could open a movie. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Right.
And I was not disappointed.
Oh, yeah. So, this girl's name is Sherry. She's played by Lucy Hale, who was in Pretty Little Liars, Truth or Dare, and Fantasy Island. The person on the phone, who the audience knows is Ghostface, wants to know who he's speaking to, and she tells him it's the wrong number and hangs up. Also in the house is Trudy, played by Shannon Grimes from 90210, the 2008 version. Trudy wants to know if Sherry picked a movie out and she wants to watch Saw 4, which I think is a great choice because that ending is amazing. Trudy doesn't want to watch it because she says that torture porn and claiming that those movies have no character development, and I want to argue so much here.
But this whole conversation is so meta, it's hilarious.
Yeah, because the journey of Eric Matthews through part 2 through 4 is amazing, but I'll stop. Sherry wants to know who Trudy is texting, and she says she has some weird Facebook stalker who keeps saying weird things like, "You're hot, I want to kill you." She recommends deleting him, but Trudy says he keeps coming back. Sherry tells her to delete him again, and Trudy says he's really hot, showing her a picture of his abs. And Sherry points out that that's Channing Tatum back in his early modeling career. Then the phone rings again. It's the same person. Sherry's impatient, and Ghostface threatens to chop her neck if she hangs up.
At this point, I'm starting to think, okay, I see. They're just going back to basics. They're just
Yeah.
going to try to bring it back down to basics and make it kind of the same form as the original and recapture some of the glory.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, this will be fun.
Yeah.
Trudy is willing to talk to him, and she asks who he is. Ghostface tells her he's the last person she's going to see alive. She hangs up the phone and asks Sherry if the doors are locked. They get up to lock them, but then the phone rings. Sherry goes to reject the call. That's when Trudy gets another text message from her stalker on Facebook that tells her to answer the phone. Sherry thinks it's a joke, and then the doorbell rings. Sherry wants to open the front door, but Trudy is scared and yells out, "Who is it?" Instead of replying, she gets a text message from the stalker daring her to open the door, which is funny since Lucy Hale would later go on to be in the movie Truth or Dare 7 years later. Sherry opens the door, but no one's there. Trudy gets another text message, reads it aloud saying, I'm not on side, I'm right beside you. She's confused, but then Ghostface pops up and stabs her in the chest. Sherry turns and run outside because she's not dumb, but unfortunately there are 2 killers in this movie, and this one slashes her throat. And fun fact about the original, Billy was the stabber and Stu was the slasher, so they still did this one stabs, one slashes.
Okay, but this is...
I got it.
Yeah.
No, we're going. Sherry falls to the floor in a dramatic scene, and we get a woman's scream, and the title card pops up for Stab 6.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what?
I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay, so it had to be something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, they're going to play it clever with us. They start out with a little bit of self-commentary, right?
Exactly. And now we're in the living room with 2 more beautiful women who are watching Stab 6. These 2 are Rachel, played by Anna Paquin, who's from X-Men and True Blood, and Chloe, played by Kristen Bell, who's from Frozen, the animation, not the horror movie, and Veronica Mars. These 2 women are both blonde. Rachel turns off the movie saying that it was stupid and it's the death of horror, and Chloe says that it scared her. Rachel scoffs at the whole Facebook killer things, and Chloe says, I guess today that would be Twitter, and I guess today that would be X, because it's been time since that movie's come out.
True.
Rachel goes on to complain that the meta horror movie is a bunch of teens commenting on the genre and it's been done to death, which I think is so funny.
It's awesome. They're not only being meta, they're being meta about being meta.
Right. Chloe jumps in to the Stab movie's defense, saying that they are scary because it's not aliens or zombies or little Asian ghost girls, but a guy with a knife. Rachel keeps going on how the opening scene, there always a girl getting the call and ends up getting herself killed. She says there's no element of surprise and you could see everything coming. And that's when Chloe pulls out a knife and stabs her in the gut. She pulls it out and asks her if that was a surprise to her. Because it surprised me the first time watching it. Like, what?
I love it because I feel like they're stabbing the audience, right? They're like, they're just telling you, screw you, shut up, stop criticizing us.
Exactly. Rachel asks why, and she stabs her again. Chloe tells her that she talks too much and tells her to shut the fuck up and watch the movie. As Rachel starts choking on her own blood, Chloe smiles, hits play on the remote, and the title card for Stab 7 comes on the screen.
I would just like to point out, we're watching a movie where we're watching people watching a movie where we were watching people watching a movie.
In the universe of their own movie, though.
And talking about watching a movie.
Yeah.
That's the number of layers of recursion we've got at this point. It's very impressive.
Which is meta towards itself because in Scream 2, the characters were watching the events of Scream 1 through their movie called Stab. And the Stab movies have been a reference and joking upon themselves the whole movie. By the third one, we were filming the third one, but now they get to talk about how they've been done to death.
Now they've taken the recursion to its furthest possible extreme. That's awesome.
Right. So I can definitely say the first time watching it, that opening had me laughing like crazy. Like, what the heck?
You hardly ever see the double fake out, too.
Yeah. So now we get 2 more teenagers talking about that movie. We got Marnie, played by Britt Robertson, who's from Tomorrowland, and Jenny, played by Amy Teagarden, who's from Friday Night Lights and Rings.
And now you're like, can we even trust anything? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Can we believe anything? Am I going to believe anything the rest of this movie?
Is this 50 minutes of fake outs?
That's not a bad concept. You could make a movie like that.
Just keep going and going and going.
The whole movie is fake outs, but somehow you tell a story through the fake outs.
And then the last one leads into the first one, and it's a loop.
Oh, we got to write this script.
It's a good idea.
We got to write this script.
Britt loves the Stab movies and has seen them 5 times, but Marnie thinks they don't make sense. Given the assumption that because Stab 7 opening is Stab 6, that the opening of Stab 6 must be Stab 5, and therefore Stab 4 has no plot. And I'm like, that's not how that works. Jenny can't believe that Marty hasn't seen them because they live in Woodsboro. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. We've made it back to Woodsboro. Marty points out that these movies have nothing to do with Woodsboro, and she thought that they were supposed to be based on a true story. Jeannie explains to Marnie, and really to the audience, to catch us up, that the first 3 were based on Sidney Prescott, but then Sidney Prescott threatened to sue them if they kept using her for these movies. So after the third one, they're all made up. She adds, Stab 5 has time travel and is by far the worst. And I'm like, that's the one I want to see.
Yeah.
Ginny claims that she hears something, but Marty knows that she's trying to scare her, claiming that she does this all the time. And if Margot were here, she would say that she doesn't do pranks.
And now I'm like, is it going to be another fake out of some kind? Is it going to be another one?
So the phone rings, Ginny answers, asks Marnie to get it, and sure enough, it's a prank. Marnie's not happy. We cut to Ginny, who hears a sound like Marnie getting attacked from the other end, but then the phone goes dead. Downstairs, Ginny thinks Marnie's just trying to do a reverse prank on her, but she can't seem to find her anywhere. The phone rings, which does scare Ginny, but she says that since Marnie doesn't have the app on her phone, she can't talk like Ghostface, but when she answers it, it is Ghostface's voice. Ghostface tells her to relax because she is now in the movie. It's the same movie that Marnie's in, but her part was cut way back, which is funny because this right here is a reshoot. In the original cut of the film, which they test screen with audiences, the roles were reversed. Ginny died first, and Marnie was the one that ran through this scene trying to survive from Ghostface. And so her part really is cut back.
I see.
Which I think is kind of funny.
My gosh.
He tells her that she gets to play the dumb blonde with big tits, and she's instantly offended because she has a 4.0 GPA.
At this point, it's amazing to me that they're just commenting on each moment of the movie while they are showing it to us.
Oh, yes.
Like, it's the most meta I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of? It started to remind me of, like, being John Malkovich, right? I feel like this movie is kind of doing the Malkovich.
She then asks him what happened to Marnie, and he says she's on the cutting room floor. She says that isn't funny. He tells her that this is a horror movie, and she should start running. And that is when Marnie's thrown through the window, kind of like Brenda in Friday the 13th. She sees that Marnie's dead, and then Ghostface comes in to chase her. Following Scream rules, she proves that she's smart by trying to go out the front door, but she can't unlock it. She can't get the chain off, and she's forced to run upstairs. She doesn't get too far when she makes it to a part of the house that looks like it's under construction. She is stabbed in the back and falls down the stairs.
Her high IQ sure didn't help her much.
I know. Well, she was replaced by a stunt woman at this point, so I wonder if that hurt it.
Yeah.
She opens the garage door and starts to crawl out, and it feels like this was an homage to the first movie. Ghostface stops it and slams it down on her back. It does come back up, but I still think she's so thin that would still hurt a lot. Ghostface comes behind her, turns over, brings a knife over her, and she screams as the real title card says Scream. The A melts into a 4, so it spells Scree-4M instead of Scream 4.
Scree-4M.
Scree-4.
Or maybe it is Scream 4, but the 4 is in front of the A, so that you can't see the A.
That's but it melted into
That's
it.
true. A piece of the A would still be visible behind it. You're right. No, I guess it is Scree-4M.
Daytime in Woodsboro, and we see that all the light posts have ghost face masks covering them. Sydney is being driven by her publicist Rebecca, played by Alison Brie from Glow and Community. Sydney gets to see the ghost faces, but Rebecca points out that she's talking about this new display for her book, Out of Darkness, A True Story of Survival. We cut to Dewey, whose phone is going off, which sounds like it's Axel Foley's theme from Beverly Hills Cop, which is wonderful.
And in character.
Yes, right, yeah. He gets up and we see his now wife, Gail Riley, stays in bed to get a little more sleep. Also on his nightstand, you see that he has that Out of Darkness, A True Story of Survival. So he's been reading Sydney's book. Now outside, dressed for work, Dewey's getting into his vehicle, which is labeled Sheriff, when a 2009 Toyota RAV4 comes by, driving by way too fast. He knows the driver's Kirby, who turns around to yell sorry, but I don't think she could be heard over the music. Interestingly, Hayden Panettiere, who plays Kirby, said that in the script it said Kirby rides up in her brand new beautiful sports car, and when she got outside it was a Toyota RAV4, and she's like, that's the beautiful sports car?
A sports car would have made more sense for that scene, but would have also cost more money, I guess.
Yeah. So Kirby pulls up to pick up Jill Roberts. Kirby tells Jill that she's going to get in her car. She has to promise not to kill her. Interestingly, she doesn't promise that, but she asks why she would want to be killed, which you find out that she talked to Trevor, who Jill is currently not talking to her on the phone. Olivia also gets in the car to let Jill know that Trevor also called her, so she can let Jill know that he believes with her cousin coming into town, she's being distracted by the fact that he's really sorry. And then this tells us that Jill and Sydney are cousins. So it relates it to the new generation. They talk about showing up for her book tour, and Olivia calls her the Grim Reaper, and Kirby says that Sydney is the reason she loves horror movies, which is kind of meta, I think, since a lot of people love horror movies because of Neve Campbell.
Yeah.
Olivia says that since everywhere she went people died, it shouldn't be Stabbed that was her franchise, but Final Destination. Jill then gets a phone call from Ginny's phone, but it's Ghostface on the other end. Jill puts it on speaker, and Olivia motions for her to hang up, and when she does, she mentions that she also got a call like that, but from Marnie. That's when they almost get hit by a car because Kirby ran a stop sign, and I'm starting to see that she's not the best driver. In town, Deputy Hicks is telling people that the mayor wants all the Ghostface costumes taken down before lunch. Hicks is played by Marley Shelton. Dewey shows up, and Hicks is sorry that he can never escape the Woodsboro murders. He says that one generation's tragedy is the next generation's joke, and she says she wishes she had been old enough to be on the force back then because those intense type of investigations really grow bond relationships.
And gosh, she is just hanging all over him.
Oh, she's, yeah, all over it. She asks how his wife's doing. He says she's writing, but she's writing fiction. Hicks asks if Dewey wants one of her lemon squares that are freshly made. He says thanks, but no thanks. And she says a line that if you were wondering before, is she flirting with him? She definitely is now, because she goes, sure, if you're not cheating on your wife, if you eat my lemon square. And he said, no, but I'll be cheating on my diet.
Yeah.
And then they both laugh. On the radio, Deputy Perkins tells Dewey that they have to get over to the Randall house because it's real bad. Both Dewey and Hicks get into their respective cars, they're turning their sirens, and they drive there. We get to Gail watching an interview with Sidney, and the interviewer, Nancy O'Dell, might be playing herself. She was also in Scream 2 interviewing Tori Spelling about her role in the Stab movie, and in Scream 3 reporting on the opening murders with Cotton Weary. So it's like a recurring news character, which is kind of neat. And then we see here that Gail is struggling to write fiction because all she's written on the page is chapter 1, and then she writes, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of the shining moment there. Right?
Yeah, right.
All work and
Yeah.
no play.
Then we cut to the high school. It's the same high school that Sidney and her friends attended. And that's where we meet film buffs Robbie and Charlie. Robbie is played by Eric Cudson, who was in Saw 2. And Charlie is played by Rory Culkin, who was in Signs. Robbie is a guy that seems to record so much of his everyday life, and I would personally find that annoying. And I'm a guy that broadcasts his voice each week.
I think you're supposed to find it annoying, though.
Oh, yeah,
In fairness. I mean, he's clearly meant as an annoying character.
Oh, yeah. He approaches Olivia, Kirby, and Jill, referring to Olivia as Olivia, don't look at my tits, Morris. And he asks her what's her favorite scary movie. She thinks it's a stupid question and wants to know where he heard that, since that was on the obscene phone call she got earlier, and he says it's the line from a Stab movie. Then they ask Kirby, what's your favorite scary movie? And she says Bambi, which I definitely have heard that before.
I mean, for kids, it's a scary movie.
Charlie tells her that that's funny, and Robbie tells him that she's completely unaware that he even exists. He disagrees, though, and says that she wants him. At the lockers, Emma tells Kirby that she thinks Charlie likes her, and in the foreground you can see a bust of the principal from the first movie, played by Henry Winkler, the Fonz. Kirby admits to liking him, but just to tease, torment, and make him squirm. Jill tells her that she can do a lot worse, closes the locker, and that's when we see Trevor standing there. I have to say, every time I go back and visit this movie, I totally forget Trevor's a character. He's so bland, and it could be because they deleted so many of his scenes, because there's a lot of deleted scenes with him in it.
Yeah.
That I just forget that he's there. Anyway, Kirby says hi and quickly excuses herself, and he asks if he can talk to Jill. She tries to walk away. He tells her he cares about her. She gives him a speech about how he betrayed her when he went out with somebody else. She walks away, and Robbie comes out of the background letting him know that it was all caught on camera, and then asks him what's his favorite scary movie is. He starts to growl at him, which makes Robbie run away. And I'm surprised that Robbie doesn't get hit in the face more often.
Yeah, really.
Because I'm like, you seriously recorded that? Like, are you kidding me? Gail walks into the bookstore where Sidney is reading a part of her book to a room full of women. She's talking about how she was tired of being a victim, so she had to write a new role for herself, and that is how she stepped out of darkness. And Rebecca comes over to encourage people to buy the book so Sidney could sign them. And then Sidney and Gail are happy to see each other. Gail admits that she hadn't made time to read the book yet. That's when Dewey walks in. Sidney is even more excited to see him, and they hug, but you can tell that he isn't there for a happy reason. Police sirens approach, then Hicks comes in, and Dewey tells everybody that they're not allowed to leave. Both Rebecca and Gail try to inquire, but they are shut down by Dewey and Hicks. But then Dewey tells Gail that the phone from a crime scene has been traced back to this location, and tells her that the rest is need to know. Gail's confused that she isn't need to know all of a sudden. Dewey pulls out a flip phone and calls the number. Deputy Haas, played by Adam Brody from Ready or Not and Jennifer's Body, tells Dewey that the phone is ringing outside. Everybody runs outside to hear that the ringing is coming from Sidney's rental. Hicks looks funny as she's the only one of 5 law enforcement people that have drawn her gun to go outside to look for the phone. Rebecca gives Dewey the keys, and we see among a lot of promotional items for Sidney's new book is a phone, a knife, and a lot of blood. Dewey orders a lockdown on the location. Sidney begs Dewey to tell her it's a prank, but he says that it isn't and takes her with him. Rebecca goes to excitedly make a phone call. Gail goes to get a closer look at the trunk. While Hicks tries to hold her back, she doesn't try that hard. In one of the classrooms are all the younger characters. All their phones start ringing except for a couple of people, and Jill's is one person that doesn't reach for a phone. The teacher isn't happy about it, but asks everyone to share, and Olivia tells everyone that Ginny Randall and Marnie Cooper were murdered last night. Charlie adds that they were stabbed to death, and Robbie tries to go live with his feed, and everyone tells him to shut up. Everyone starts to get out of their seats, and we see that news vans have passed by already. Outside of Woodsboro's police station, reporters are reporting that this week marks the anniversary of the infamous Woodsboro murders. One reporter mentions that it's something out of Gail Weathers' book, and we cut to inside the sheriff's office as Gail is eating one of the lemon squares. Both Deputy Perkins and Haas are happy to see her, kind of treat her like royalty, and Haas is played by Anthony Anderson from the Transformers movies and Hustle and Flow. Gail tries to barge into the room where Dewey is interviewing Sidney, but Hicks blocks her at the door. Gail asks if she's going to arrest her, and Hicks says she will if it comes to that, because a civilian interfering in police investigation brings problems in a court of law. And while I don't like Hicks for flirting with Dewey, I do have to agree that she has a point here.
She does, but I think the more important point is they're trying to set up the rivalry between them, right? There's a rivalry between the two of them, clearly.
Sure.
Although I'm not sure what is so desirable about Dewey.
Yeah. Come on, doofus. Gail tells Hicks that she doesn't mind that she works with her husband, or even that she makes him those delicious treats, but tells her that if she's going to act like Dewey, she needs to grow a mustache. Gail tries to barge in, and Dewey jumps in to stop this. Gail tries to ask Dewey to take her side and ends up closing the door on Hicks. She tells Dewey that she wrote the book on this because she wrote 3 of them and helped to solve all 3 of those cases. He tells her that she isn't in the media anymore, and she is shocked to find out that he will not let her help. Since he's now the sheriff, he can't.
She's always been the insistent type character, though, so this is not surprising, really.
Of course. But the fact that she retired, she's obviously not happy with retiring from that life. She leaves the office and turns around, telling him that she's going to go rogue. She tells Hicks that her lemon squares taste like ass, and Dewey comes over to tell her that they really don't. Haas comes over to tell Dewey and Olivia that Jill reported getting a threatening phone call from the victim's phone this morning, and Dewey tells him, and really the audience again, that Jill is Sid's cousin. In the interrogation room, we have Olivia, Jill, and Kirby waiting when Hicks, Dewey, and Sidney walk in. Jill is happy to see Sidney, but says she wishes it was better circumstances. Sidney asks about the phone calls, and Jill says that he asks, what's your favorite scary movie? Kirby jumps in to say that's the killer's voice from the Stab movies, or points at Sidney, goes, or your life.
Or your life. I love that line. And she says it so casualty. Or your life.
Yeah. And then Kirby introduces herself to Sidney. Hicks asks if the killer didn't call Kirby. She says no, and then she wants to know if that means she's not going to live as long as these two. And Dewey's answer is awesome. He's like, no, maybe, of course not. Just be careful. And she's like, I'm going to die next. Sidney wants to leave town, but Dewey tells her it isn't possible. No one thinks it's her, but as Randy would say, everyone's a suspect.
At this point, though, she was number 1 on my suspect list.
Yeah?
Because it would make perfect sense with what she said about reinventing herself not as the victim,
yeah, ...
as the killer, right?
Yeah, that could work.
If you're not the prey, then you're the predator, right?
That could totally work.
That's why it was in her trunk. And of course she could get away with it because no one will suspect her. They'll think somebody just hid it in her trunk. Oh my God, this makes sense. But then I realized the fans would never let them do that. The fans would never tolerate Sidney being the killer.
Sure.
And the writers know that. They're not suicidal.
If they were going to do it, they should have did it in a part 2.
Right. Yeah, that's true. There's too much investment in her now.
Yeah. Hicks adds that since evidence was found in her car, she's a material witness, and Dewey tells Sidney that they will have her on 24-hour surveillance. Rebecca is sitting outside the station when she gets a phone call and is excited to tell the person on the other end named Henry about the 2 girls that were butchered, which means book sales.
Wow.
I know, right? She was saying that she thought going to Woodsboro was a lame PR move, but then in a funniest expression, she says, fuck me, wow. Best idea ever.
And so here we have the reboot of Gale, obviously.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
It's like every person has their obvious.
Then Gale comes out and she gets off the phone to meet her. She comes over saying she's a big fan and she grew up watching Top Story with Gale Weathers. Gale tells her it's Riley now, and Rebecca kind of sticks her foot in her mouth. She's like, yeah, you gave up your career for love, and it's been 10 years, and really, I didn't really see you guys together because it's like a Hollywood kind of marriage. And do you have any ideas how you're going to dig yourself out of the horrible image you have for yourself now? Like, what the hell? Gail says that she's going to punch her in the face if she doesn't get away. And as she does run, Gail's like, I still got it.
By the way, why are you so fat now?
Oh my God, right? At Jill's house, Dewey's talking to Sydney in the living room, and Kirby stares for a moment before telling Jill and Jill's mother, Kate, that Sydney is so beautiful but must have so many scars all over her body. Jill tells her to hush because Sydney might hear. Interesting note is that Neve Campbell played a character in The Craft where she had burn scars all over her body.
That takes me back. That's an old movie.
Kate Roberts, who's played by Mary McDonald, is from Battlestar Galactica, Donnie Darko, and The Fall of the House of Usher. Oh, and Independence Day. Kate tells Kirby that Sydney's mom was her sister, so she has a lot of scars too, but no one ever asks her about hers. We cut to Sydney asking Dewey how Gail and them are. Dewey says that he's fine, but it's hard on Gail, small town husband, and not too much to write about. Sydney asks if they are okay, and Dewey uses an inspirational quote from her book and even knows the page number, kind of like he did back in Scream 2 for Gail's book. As he leaves, she says that it is nice to see him and that they have been through a lot together. He says that he'll get through this together and tells her to lock up. Upstairs, Jill is jump scared by Trevor, who snuck in through the window, kind of like Billy in Scream. He is concerned that she's in the house with Sydney, and she tells him that he has no right to be there. He asks her if she really got a call from the killer, and he says she would be much safer with him around. She tells him that she doesn't trust him, and Sydney does one of those knock but don't wait for an answer before barging into someone's room in a house that is not even her house.
Yeah.
That bugs me. Sydney is startled, and Jill introduces her to her ex, but he calls himself the one and only. He awkwardly says it's nice to meet her and keeps meaning to pick up her book and then says she's shorter in person. Which is so stupid.
A weird thing to say.
Then he climbs out the window.
You're also uglier in person.
Sydney looks at her and Jill asks what, and Sydney says she reminds her of herself. She asks her to lock up the window and tells Jill goodnight. Sydney leaves the room and is creeped out by a dark figure lurking there, which turns out to be Deputy Judy Hicks. She apologizes because she didn't mean to scare Sydney, but then acts super creepy, asking Sydney if she remembers her because they were in school together, had the same homeroom class, and were in the same drama club. Sydney doesn't remember her, and Hicks understands that she had a lot going on back then.
I feel like they're trying to make us think that she's our number one suspect, but it's too obvious, right? Like, I'm like, it's not going to be her.
Well, they do that for a lot of people, though.
Really? Because she was the one I noticed it the most on, but maybe...
Yeah. Well, they do it for the two detectives that we are going to meet a little bit more in detail in a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot of people that they keep trying to throw out, like, oh, maybe it's them, maybe it's them, maybe it's them.
Okay, I guess I didn't get as strong a sense as I did with her that they were trying to push that narrative.
As Hicks goes downstairs, Perkins asks if everything's okay upstairs, and she tells him he's supposed to be outside. Outside, Perkins is getting to his squad car with Haas, and he's doing a crossword puzzle. They see a Mini Cooper parked next door, and Haas tells Perkins that Olivia is on their list because she lives next door. Perkins says she can live next door to me in an inappropriate tone since she's a high schooler.
Yeah, really.
She might be 18, but still. Inside, Jill and Kirby are watching Shaun of the Dead, which we covered in episode 26, and it's the scene where Bloody Mary is in the garden. Kirby gets a call from Olivia, who they invite over to watch Shaun of the Dead, but she comments that there are two zombies outside, referring to the deputies. She also declines the invite because the Angel of Death is there, and being next door is close enough.
Ooh, Angel of Death.
Right. Kirby asks her if her mom's home. She says she isn't because she's out with her boyfriend. And I totally would have not elected to stay at a house by myself, even if the Angel of Death was over there.
Yeah.
Like you two come over here then. I don't know. Jill asks why she didn't come over and then goes to prank call her on Kirby's phone. We cut to Olivia, who is in a bright yellow bra for some reason, answering the phone. Jill does a horrible Ghostface impression, and Olivia knows it's her. Olivia asks Jill if she knows where the Stabathon is going to be, and I have to say that recently Margot came over to watch Screams 2, 3, and 4 to help me prepare for these, and I had a little mini Stabathon, and that was kind of fun.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Jill tells her that this doesn't matter because her mom never lets her get out and go to those. Then Kirby sees that Trevor is calling Jill's phone, and she says that she will handle it. On the phone, it's Ghostface who prank talks to Jill, but Kirby says that she is screening her calls. Olivia is putting on a different shirt, now asking Jill what is going on. Kirby can barely hear her now because Ghostface is whispering, saying that he isn't Trevor. Kirby calls bullshit because it's Trevor's phone, and he is going to ask her a question. He asks, how's the movie? And when she asks which movie, he says Shaun of the Dead. Kirby asks how he knows, and he tells her because he's standing in the closet. Kirby tells Jill that Trevor is acting really weird and admits that it might not be him. Ghostface says it's not him and tells her to open the closet door. Kirby goes to open it, and Jill is worried, but then when she opens it and moves the clothes aside, there's nobody in there. Kirby figures it out when it's pretty much too late. She doesn't have enough time to warn Olivia. Ghostface jumps out of Olivia's closet. Everybody screams, which alerts Sydney, who was reading downstairs. Olivia is stabbed a couple of times by the time Sydney makes it upstairs. When Sydney sees, she decides that she's no longer a victim, runs downstairs to take action. She first tries to alert the deputies, but they're not in their car. Olivia is stabbed 3 more times in the gut. Sydney runs over and breaks through the front door of the window. Ghostface breaks the window in Olivia's room and hangs half of her body outside. Sydney makes it to Olivia's room, and she sees the bloodiest kill that they've had in any Scream movie by far.
Oh, really?
And since it had been 11 years, and the type of movies that have come out in those 11 years are way bloodier than they've ever been before, they had to reference that.
They had to keep up.
Yeah. So now Olivia's not hanging out the window. She's actually lying in her bed, and her insides are on the outside. And there's blood all over the walls. Sydney squats down to recover, but that's when Olivia's phone rings. She picks it up to hear Ghostface. He welcomes her home, and Sydney asks if he has the balls to come for her. He tells her that she isn't the star anymore, and Sydney replies that this isn't a movie, but Ghostface says that it will be, because all of them have been turned into movies so far.
Well, that's fair, but she was wrong to begin with. I mean, it is a movie.
Yeah, she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Some people.
Well, maybe he means like right now as they're filming, it's not a movie. It's not a movie until it gets edited and put together. You know?
Could be, yeah.
But it will be.
But they're recording them all. But Sydney doesn't know that.
Yeah, we don't know that yet.
Yeah. She tells him that they're innocent people, and he lectures her on how she made a fortune from these murders, and that's why she left town and left everybody here behind. He tells her that...
Which is a clue about who it is, I think.
Oh, yeah. He tells her that he has plans for her, describing how he will slit her eyelids open so she can't blink when he stabs her face. He says that she will only die when he wishes her to, and not until then, and she's going to suffer. Kind of sounds like Pinhead here.
I agree.
After he hangs up, Jill runs up, and Sydney stops her from going in. Jill tells Sydney that Olivia called her the Angel of Death, and that's when Ghostface appears behind Jill and slices her arm. Sydney knocks him in the head with a picture frame, knocks him to the ground, then blocks a knife attack to her chest and flip kicks him down the stairs because she's a badass. Now both of them are downstairs. Sydney hits him twice, knocking him to the floor. That's when Perkins and Haas come in, and when they ask where he is just vanished. Sydney calls for Jill, who's holding her arm, and Jill tells her don't. That's when Trevor comes in, all suspicious, except for the fact that he's just a boring character that I would never suspect him for a moment. Kirby shows up, and they both walk Jill outside. The deputies both come back saying that there isn't anybody out there, and Perkins stops to check on Sydney. Haas says he will call it in, and Sydney tells Perkins to go look upstairs. So he takes his gun out, and he makes it upstairs. So here is where the director, Wes Craven, said in the commentary that he was hoping that maybe a few people might suspect the deputies because they appear after Ghostface disappears. They look a little suspicious. They could be working together.
So I did have the thought it could possibly be one of the cops in some way, like that would explain some things about how they were able to know where everybody was and do everything.
Right.
But I don't know. I didn't have that strong of a direction on that, I guess.
Yeah. Outside people have gathered and are real assholes to Sydney, blaming her, saying that it's her mother's fault. She's just like her mother, and this has all happened because of her. Jill apologizes to Sydney for what she said earlier, and she asks Sydney if she's also going to get her wound looked at. Dewey is now there and asks Haas and Perkins what happens. They said they saw him going into a house. They chased him around back, but then he disappeared like a ghost. Robbie is live casting with Charlie. He says that Olivia Morris, who will officially never go out with him, is dead, and reports on Marty and Ginny being dead as well.
That is the most sensitive way he could possibly have announced that information.
Of course, right? He sounds very excited when he says that their local legacy of the Stab movies is coming to life. Gail walks up to them asking if they could turn off the live feed. He says he can't, but then she gets very forceful, and he agrees. Gail asks if they would like to work together since they run the movie club and would know these movie fans who she feels might be responsible for this. Robbie confesses his love to her, and she says if he gives her the insights into their cinema club, she'll be willing to make a guest appearance to their club. Charlie
which
jumps
is a
in.
very arrogant, like,
completely.
offer, right?
I'll go to your club.
She thinks she'll just wow them just by being there.
Charlie jumps in and goes, "What about Sydney?"
Exactly.
And she's like, "What do you mean?" "Well, she's the star. I mean, that would be a real big deal." And Gail goes, "Fine, she's my Daniel Radcliffe to my J.K. Rowling." And he goes, "Yeah, but without the book sales or the box office."
Really? Yeah, she is way too. Yeah, way too.
At the hospital, the doctor tells Sydney that she's broken no bones and she should be fine and she should take a couple of days off. And I'm
It's
like,
the doctor. It must be the doctor.
but from what? Being attacked? Just take a couple of days off. Rebecca shows up to tell her that Random House wants to lock in the next 3 book deals, and she has a contract with a blank line where Sydney can just name her price. She goes on to tell her that soon as she's cleared of all the charges, she can go back to writing her books and go on a book tour in New York, where she's booked a lot of places like The Today Show, The View, and MTV News. Sydney interrupts her, asking if she's even read her book, and she says that she hasn't really had the time with the book tour. She was hoping to wait for the movie. Rebecca grabs Sydney's arm where she was hurt, not even noticing, and pulls her into another room. Sydney embraces her arm again when she gets it free, and Rebecca tells Sydney that she's a victim for life and she should just embrace that, which if she read the book, she would know that's totally against what Sydney stands for right now.
Yep.
Rebecca goes on to say that this means book sales, and book sales means that she can get her message out to more people. And Sydney tells her she won't be needed anymore, and when she doesn't get the message, she gets to yell out in front of everybody, "You're fired."
Yeah.
Rebecca goes out to the parking lot on the 6th floor. She's pretty much talking to herself about how Sydney's going to regret it. Sydney's going to call me tomorrow. Sydney never gets laid. That's the real problem.
Are they trying to make us think that she's the killer? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so. I think they're trying to make her the dumb victim right now.
I see. Okay.
I mean, that's how I felt about it. Rebecca goes out to the parking garage onto the 6th floor. On the floor, she doesn't know where her car is, so she beeps the car twice like everybody who can't find their car does.
And this is one of those moments where I'm like, really? A parking garage? Like, it's such a cliche. You know?
Sure.
We've got an entire movie based on that.
Yeah.
P2, which we covered in episode 56.
All right, so then she gets a phone call, and the caller asks for Sydney. She says that she's handling all of Sydney's phone calls, but will take a message. He asks if she has a pen. She tries to get her keys. He tells her that she's the message. He says something here that makes her panic a little bit. She starts to suspect.
Yeah. I mean, saying you're the message is scary already. I mean, I wouldn't want someone writing on me.
She hits the panic button instead of the car alarm button when he gets to say, "It doesn't sound like you're in a hospital, but I'd be happy to place you in the morgue." She hangs up, runs into the car. When the phone rings again, she drops the keys. She rejects the call by saying no.
You know what? This is like the third kill or something where I'm just like, is no one in this town ever armed? After everything that's happened,
Yeah,
no one carries
I guess not.
like that. That's if I lived in that town, I would have like 6 or 7 guns on me at all times. Like, are you kidding me?
Right. So she looks up when another car is driving by the garage. We see that the hood is partially up. That's when Ghostface jumps on the hood of the car, slamming it shut, and he's holding some colorful wires here, which means he's like ripped them out of her car. So she can't drive away. The driver gets closer and she tries to scream for help, but he doesn't hear her. Then Ghostface vanishes. She grabs her purse and tries to make it away on foot, looking under the car before she goes. And Wes Craven said, that's for everybody that's like, he's under the car, don't do it. He makes her look under the car right away so he can say, okay, he's not under the car. Unfortunately, when she gets to the door, she rips the handle right off. She turns her around and Ghostface runs right up to her and stabs her in the gut.
And I've noticed that that's a recurring thing in this movie. Seems to be, it's not that he's hiding behind something. It's that he runs really fast with no sound from nowhere.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Must be a ballet dancer.
Well, I mean, quite possibly. Or, you know, some sort of half man, half woman.
Hybrid.
Yeah.
We cut to Dewey speaking with deputies Haas and Perkins in attendance. He says that they are following leads and that the less he says about that, the better. The press is there. Gail comes up and asks him a question, but he covers up the mic and tells her, like, later, honey. And she's, like, confused, like, because she's not part of the press. Instead of answering more questions, he wants the community to know that they're working very hard and the situation is under control. Someone in the crowd starts screaming. They all look up. Rebecca is falling from the 6th floor of the garage, and she lands on a KQWK Channel 13 Bay Area news van.
Well, I guess that's a scoop for that particular news team, right?
If it's real. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. And she landed on our van.
Yeah, that's right. The news gets delivered right to them.
Right.
They get close-ups of her nostrils.
Dewey orders Haas to the top of the garage and asks someone to put a man on each stairwell. He climbs to the top of the van and looks at the body. Haas reports down that there's no one on the roof, and Gail asks Dewey if he really has it all under control. Then tells him that she may not have a uniform, but she has a lead, and let me know when you're back on Team Gail. She doesn't have a lead, though. She has a hunch.
Yeah, and Team Gale's a lonely team.
The next day, we see the exterior of the high school, and it feels like the perfect time to play the song Red Right Hand. But for some reason, they couldn't get the rights for this movie, and it plays in every movie but this one.
Weird.
Yeah. Inside, Gail and Sydney are visiting the drama club, and there are many posters all along the walls, including The Hills Have Eyes, Stab, Dawn of the Dead, the original, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, The Thing, Vertigo, Death Proof, Stab 3, from what I can make out. Charlie introduces her, and everybody claps except for Trevor. Robbie says that beyond Jamie Lee Curtis and Linda Blair, this is the ultimate. Sydney says thanks, I guess, and asks about Robbie, about his recording, his whole high school experience, to which he says one day the whole world will be doing it. Charlie jumps in to say that it's the one thing the killer's missing. Gail wants to know what he means. And they both explain in this bouncing back and forth manner as they're finishing each other's sentences that the killer really should be recording all his kills, then before getting killed, upload them into cyberspace, which would make the art as immortal as they are.
I mean, they really are making these characters exactly the same as the characters they're reboots of. You know?
Yeah.
Like, they're not even different.
Yeah. They both at the same time say that they don't mean to implicate Robbie, who's recording everything. Sydney wants to know what they think is behind the murders, and Robbie turns the camera on and tells her that it's a stab fanatic working on less of a shriekwell and more of a screamake, which he claims are copyrighted terms. Charlie says that those are the only films that the studios will greenlight anymore, and Robbie rocks around the film club.
Just real quick, what is the difference between a shriekwell and a screamake?
So a requel is where you reinvent the movie. You start with a new generation. You still include the old characters, but it's more like you're continuing on, but you're making way for the new generation to take over and getting rid of the old characters. A remake, though, would be none of the old characters are there.
Oh, right. It's a straight-up reboot.
It's a reboot.
Yeah, okay.
And so neither of these really apply. I think the shriekwell, if anything, applies more than the remake, but they don't agree.
I agree.
Kirby gets Sydney's attention to show them how they're broadcasting now. They go over the new rules and how they've changed over the years. And he details that an opening sequence has to be one that blows the doors off. He says that some flashy music video director has to be hired so they can make more extreme kills in more extreme ways, which does reference a lot of horror movies out there that have been directed by people that started in music videos, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Charlie says that the rules have reversed themselves because audiences know what to expect, and adds that the only surefire way to survive a horror movie is now that you have to be gay. Which I don't think was really a rule at the time, but I feel like
I don't think so.
There's been a lot of horror movies where the gay person does survive, including Scream 5, but it doesn't seem like that's the reason they survived. It just happens to be a coincidence.
No, I don't think so. I think there may be some rules about people who survive. I don't think that's one of them.
Right. Gail asked why they're sure it's a Stab remake, and they said that the two victims were killed while their parents were away, were high school hot chicks, savage beyond recognition. Charlie says that where they go from there, and Sydney says a party, to which Charlie agrees with. Robbie says that his fingers are crossed that they'll actually get some nudity for a change. Gail asks what party is happening, and Charlie explains that the Stabathon happens, and they're showing all Stab movies back to back, and they do it every year. And man, I'm jealous, because who has 14 hours to do that?
Yeah, really. Kids.
Kids, right, yeah. Sydney wants them to call it off, and since the killer is patterning the kills off the Stab movies, and they don't want to. Gail wants to know where the circle jerk is happening. They won't tell her. And in the commentary, you find out that Wes Craven says that Courtney Cox had no idea what that meant, and Wes Craven had to explain to her.
No idea what meant.
Circle jerk.
Oh. Oh, wow.
She said the line, had no idea. I guess it didn't apply to her.
You'd have to have a different name for girls.
I guess. Then they try to change the subject, and they ask if there's a Q&A for this too, and Gail says, F you, and then both her and Sydney leave. Charlie says that was awesome, and it looks like he might have just finished in his pants. Back at Jill's house, she tells Sydney that she feels like she's under house arrest. Sydney lets her know that while people normally tell people that they know how she feels, Sydney really knows how she feels because she's also lost her best friend in this way, and she's sorry it happened to her. Jill says that she's sorry about Rebecca, her agent as well. Jill asks Sydney how she handles the people staring at her all the time, claiming that she can never handle that kind of attention. Sid says that she focuses on the people she cares about, and Jill thanks Sydney for saving her life and wonders if she'll ever be brave enough to do the same thing. Then she goes off to her room, though she calls it a cell. In her room, she calls Kirby, who is at the party. Kirby reports that Trevor's there, and she will be drinking enough for both her and Jill since Jill can't go.
Yeah.
We see Gail entering, and she puts on a Ghostface mask. As the crowd starts yelling Stabathon.
It's Gail! It must be Gail!
Right, yeah, that's funny. She plants cameras around the whole place, as she did in Scream 1. On the stage, Robbie and Charlie thank everyone for their 3rd annual event. Charlie tells everyone, feel free to drink every time someone can't get a cell phone signal. Robbie tells everybody, feel free to drink every time someone shuts the refrigerator and there's a harmless character behind it. And Charlie says, feel free to drink every time someone says the word, and the whole audience yells, no! Which is funny. Then they start the first movie, and it says a Robert Rodriguez film, which we did not see when we watched Stab in Scream 2.
Oh, wait. I thought they were going to... This isn't where they're watching... They said they were watching all these other movies, right?
They're watching Stab 1 through 7.
Oh, I thought there was a whole list of things in this that they were watching, like frickin' Death Proof and...
No, those were posters that they had up on their club earlier. But they're doing a Stabathon. It's just the Stab movies 1 through 7. All 7 movies back to back.
All right. I thought they were going to do a bunch of different movies.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, whatever.
They start the first one. It says a Robert Rodriguez film, which was not there in the first movie, but they might have filmed it with that intent, but the studio made them take it out. Gail gets up front to plant a camera there, and everybody's throwing popcorn at her, and she flips them off. Gail goes into a loft area to plant another camera, and we see the same footage from Stab that we saw in Scream 2 while goes back to her car. She starts to record, sounding like she's already solved the crime in the future, talking about how she's there, she's on the scene again, and then she notices her cameras are getting covered or turned around where all they see is black. And even though she saw someone doing this, she still acts like it's a tech glitch and starts to fix it by hitting random buttons, which is funny. So Gail calls Dewey and tells him that she's there and the killer is on the site. He wants to know how she's sure, and Gail tells him that the kids told her that a remake has to outdo the original. She adds that the killer is all about the Stab movies and asks, how meta can you get? Dewey doesn't know what that means, and it turns out Gail doesn't either. She was just repeating what the kids said.
and that sure fits with the IRL, her not knowing what a circle jerk was.
Yeah.
I wonder if they added that line because of that. That would be funny.
Gail asks him to get out here and make the arrest so she can get the story. He says that he thought she was going to do this on her own, and Gail hangs up on him to go fix her equipment. Inside, we see the Heather Graham shower scene play out, and the crowd is going wild. Kirby tells Robbie and Charlie that they've done a good job, and that she's impressed, although she slowly tries to tone down her compliment as she walks past them, but they're both convinced that she wants Robbie. Gail finds her cameras, and then she notices that someone else has a camera set up watching her. As she approaches it, she holds her camera by her side facing behind her. So Dewey arrives on the scene and looks at the footage through her car window and sees that Ghostface is behind her and he yells, "Behind you!" Apparently loud enough that she actually turned around and sees him on time.
I'm not sure that was what...
That right? It's not. It's a coincidence, right?
Yeah. But I do love the meta going on here,
yes.
right? That so the audience is basically watching the movie we're watching on screen. And then also we have Dewey watching her get killed through a camera as we're watching her get killed through a different camera.
It's beautiful.
And he's yelling at the screen and we're yelling at the screen. And it's like, it's so complex.
So they fight around the haystacks as Dewey runs to help. At the same time as Heather Graham is attacked on the screen, Dewey shoots, but it doesn't hit Ghostface, and so Gail gets stabbed in the shoulder.
His aim sucks. I just want to say.
Yeah, I know. David Arquette really pushed to be, he's like, by now, shouldn't I be a more competent officer? And Wes Craven's like, yeah, that's just not really what people love about your character, though.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say, by the way, this whole principle of the killer making the movie about what he did, that's kind of the previous movie. Scream 3, the killer turned out to be the director of the movie.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
So, I mean,
But he wasn't filming it as he went along. He was just writing a script about it.
Well, he was directing.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it does seem very similar. There's echoes there.
Yeah, I get you. Well, there's definitely echoes between this saying it's a remake and then the next movie after this being a requel. But
yeah,
so they do that. But either way, I enjoy them as they happen.
There's a limited amount of things you can do with this concept.
Yeah, maybe once 30 films, you know?
Yeah.
So Gale's able to push Ghostface off of the floor and he lands on a haystack below. Dewey goes to check on Gale, reporting that he didn't catch Ghostface, but maybe the cameras got something. And Gale tells him that there was a webcam set up watching her and tells Dewey that this time he's making a movie. Outside Jill's house, Haas tells Perkins that he doesn't like this shift because cops guarding people's houses always get it. It's so great.
Well, it's just character, every time something happens to them, they have to announce what's going to happen to them and comment on it. Like, right. It's like, are you
Perkins asks what he's talking about, and he explains that the movie cop rules that it sucks to be a cop in a movie unless you're Bruce Willis. Perkins says that not all cops die in movies, and Haas says, you do if it's your last day before retirement, or if you're a rookie and you just found out your wife is pregnant, which is totally the plot in Lethal Weapon 3. And he adds that if your partner's better looking, and they both say at the same time that they win that contest. Perkins says that he will take the perimeter and says, I'll be right back. Then he realizes he shouldn't have said that. Haas tells him it's a new decade, new rules, and he could come back to find him dead. To make Perkins feel better, though, Haas takes the perimeter check. As Haas walks off, Perkins comically looks in the seat behind him to make sure no one's there.
Yeah.
Which I love. Sydney hears and sees the wind chimes hanging all crooked outside on the porch, and she goes to turn the light on and goes to fix it. Haas notices that an upstairs window is open and calls back to Perkins to see if it was open when he walked around, but Perkins does not respond on the radio.
It's kind of interesting that they did, in fact, announce to us all the possible ways this could play out, right?
Yes.
It did play out one of those ways. Like,
right.
It's like, no, we're not just trying to distract you from what's really going to happen. It's really just we're trying to keep you on your toes.
Right. Sydney hears dogs barking. She gives up on fixing the wind chimes and goes back inside, locking the door. Haas gets back to the car, and Perkins is faking like he's dead to jump scare Haas. While Perkins is laughing, Ghostface runs up to Haas and stabs him in the back. Then Haas hits the floor. Ghostface stabs Perkins right in the forehead. Ghostface pulls the knife out. Perkins tries to apply pressure to the wound, then gets out of the car, and while he's super bloody, flowing through his head, he does do one big Superman swing, though it seems he can't see anything, and he falls to his knees and says, fuck Bruce Willis, and drops dead to the ground.
That was a funny line, but also, like, just how hard would it actually be to stab through someone's skull?
Oh, it depends if you're in a movie or not.
Oh, true.
And the knife is CGI.
CGI knives are especially sharp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they're not even there.
Exactly. They have zero width. They're infinite sharpness.
Inside, Sydney hears the wind chimes again, so she grabs a knife to go investigate, but it's Kate who didn't understand why they weren't hanging. It turns out she went to go stress shopping and says that she has one more bag in the car and will be right back. Sydney puts the knife down and starts unloading the groceries, and the phone rings. And I know she's staying there, but we've discussed this in Scream 2. She's got to stop answering the phones for houses that are not hers. It doesn't go well for her.
Also, people have got to stop stress shopping every time 3 or 4 people around them get killed. You're going to, and especially in a town like that, you're going to spend so much money, have a closet full of expensive stresses you can't wear.
Unless that stress shopping was guns.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So, of course, it's Ghostface who asks her, what is the point of being the survivor if everyone close to her is dead? He then tells her to turn on the news, which reports that Gale is in serious condition after being stabbed. Sid asks Ghostface why they are doing this, and Ghostface replies, friends count, but family ties cut deep. She figures that means Ghostface will target the family, and Ghostface says that she can't save them, but all she can do is watch. She runs up to check on Jill to find that Jill's gone, and she finds her laptop in her bed. Sidney opens the laptop to see the biggest font for a chat program ever, where Jill sees that Kirby says she'll pick her up because her mom is driving her crazy. I mean, it was like 80-point font. It was stupid. Sidney goes downstairs to tell Kate and tries to call Jill, but she doesn't answer. Sidney tells her that Ghostface wants her family first, and she wants to go get the cops. Kate tells her that while the cops were there when she first came in, they weren't there when she went back outside. Sidney wants to go to Kirby's, and they go to open the side door, which is close to the vehicle, and they see Ghostface's reflection in the wood chimes. They run to the front door, and when Ghostface opens it there, they both push on the door, and it mostly closes, but Ghostface's knife is in between the door and the frame. This is enough for Ghostface to get his arm in the door, and Kate pushes from her body using the other wall to brace against, and Sid's able to slam against it and get it closed. Sid locks the door and says, "Let's get out of here."
Which is the smart thing to do.
Right.
Like, immediately get as far away from that door as possible, like a rational person would, right?
But then you hear a stab sound as Kate groans.
Of course.
So Sid comes back to check on her. She's spitting up blood as the knife came through the mail slot to stab her. As she dies, Kate tells Sidney to tell Jill that she is so sorry. Sidney grabs the keys and runs for the side door again, opens to see Hicks, who she says she saw someone running down the side of the house but lost them. Hicks asks where Haas and Perkins are and notices the blood on Sidney, who tells her about Kate. Sidney shows her the body, and Hicks radios her report, and when she looks back, Sidney is gone. Outside, Sidney's pulling out in Kate's 2008 silver Cadillac, speeding to go protect Jill. Unlike Screams 1 and 2, this time we see Gail in the stretcher instead of Dewey, who follows. He tells her that she will not have to go on her own alone because from here on, they're together forever. They transfer her to a hospital bed, and Gail asks Dewey to promise her to catch the motherfucker. At Kirby's house, we have Kirby, Jill, Robbie, and Charlie. Robbie's freaking out because Gail, who they call the sheriff's wife, told them to shut it down, and she was the one that got stabbed at the party. Charlie says that the reboot one-ups the original ending. Kirby jumps in and says that the original ending was the party ending, and Charlie continues that thought to say that there's new rules, which seems to confuse Jill. Charlie wants to put on Stab 7 because no one cancels his film festival. But Jill doesn't want to watch it because of what happened to Olivia. Kirby says that it was Olivia's favorite, and Charlie notices all the classic movie that Kirby owns, mentioning Suspiria and Don't Look Now.
Which we also covered, Suspiria, in episode something.
Hold on. You keep doing this to me.
I can't resist. You did it first.
I did do it first, and I was prepared. Episode 14. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, episode 14.
Kirby tells him that she could out-trivia him anytime. So he asks her who played Leatherface first, and she answers Gunnar Hansen. Charlie says with a little smooth line that is obviously flirting, like, "Oh, did you feel that connection we just had there?" Robbie doesn't get that, though. He's too worried about the cops coming to show up and cut off his website. Oh, no. Robbie then says...
Of all the things I'd be worried about somebody cutting off me, my website would be the last one.
Robbie says they're so dead, and Trevor walks in saying that he agrees. Trevor said that Jill texted him to come over, but she claims she didn't text him, but she also can't find her phone, so she leaves to go find it. They say that he thought he lost his phone, but he says he got a new one, and I was like, did we miss a scene where he told them he lost his phone? I know they got a call from Ghostface from his phone, but they never established that he lost his phone. There is a deleted scene where he tells them this, okay. And
yeah, I didn't remember it either.
Yeah,
I didn't remember that either.
But they make it sound like obviously we know this already.
I just thought it was me having a bad memory again.
So then Trevor leaves to go after Jill. Hicks calls Dewey to update him about Kate being dead and Sidney fleeing the scene. He asks about Jill, then asks about Haas and Perkins, and she tells him they were found 2 blocks away. Kirby and Charlie are watching Stab 7, and Robbie is over in the kitchen taking shots by himself. Robbie goes outside to give them some alone time, where you can hear Kirby ask if Charlie wants to come over and sit next to her. So like an idiot, he starts broadcasting that Charlie might get lucky tonight with a girl, but tells everyone he can't divulge his location. He then hears something and looks around the corner calling out who's there, and then turns around to smash his head on a hanging plant. This knocks his camera headset off, and when he puts it back on, the camera is facing the wrong direction. Kirby pulls Charlie away from the movie, saying that now would be a good time to make a move, and he asks why she couldn't be the one to make the move, and she replies that she just did. She tells him that he's actually cute, especially when she's scared, lonely, and drunk. They both move in for a kiss. That is when fucking forgettable Trevor walks back in, asking if they know where Jill is because she wasn't outside. Kirby tells him that she's upstairs. He notices Stab 7 is on, and because he's fucking clueless to what is happening in this room, he just sits down next to Kirby to watch the movie.
Very clueless, yes.
Charlie storms off. Kirby gives Trevor an evil look, and that's when he realizes. He tries to ask, but Kirby asks him who even invited him, and he goes upstairs to look for Jill. Robbie is stumbling around and tells the audience not to blame their internet feed because he's just drunk. And before going inside to see what is going on, he notices his feed is showing what he thinks it shouldn't. It takes him a bit to figure out how to fix it, and as soon as it's pointing in front of him, Ghostface comes out the front door and stabs him right through his beautiful lime green stab shirt. I want to buy. I don't have that one. I want that shirt.
They really messed with us here because, I'm like, okay, it's facing behind him, so
yes,
someone's going to see on the camera someone coming up behind him, and they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. It was a pure fake out. That never happened.
Yeah. After getting stabbed again, he lies on the floor and tells Ghostface that there are rules because he says he's gay and then adds, if it helps. So it's debatable whether or not he's telling the truth here. Although on record, the first gay character was the security guard or the detective guarding Sidney in Scream 2. Kirby is laying back on the couch when she hears the doorbell ring. She goes to answer it, but before she does, Jill calls her name and comes downstairs saying that she found her phone and she didn't text Trevor. Jill asks her where he is, and Kirby says that he had just gone upstairs to look for her. Kirby calls out to Trevor and then Robbie and Charlie before opening the door to see Sidney there frantic, but excited to see Jill. Jill instantly apologizes, saying that she should have told her and her mom where she was going, but Sidney says that she needs to come with her right now. She turns to take her away, and Robbie walks up a few steps on the porch and tells them to run as he collapses to die. The three women run into the house, Kirby heading straight and Sidney following Jill upstairs. Ghostface follows Sidney, and she is able to deliver a kick, sending Ghostface flying backwards onto the stairs. Jill leads Sidney into her room, and she asks if they could escape from the balcony, but it's 2 stories up on that side of the house at least. Sidney tells Jill to hide under the bed. She is reluctant, but in the end, she does, and she gives Sidney her cell phone. Ghostface breaks through, and Sidney can be heard saying, "You got it, just run, go get help," while looking as if she lowered Jill down the side of the house. Mm-hmm. Sidney then runs along the 2nd floor roof as Ghostface follows, and she turns the corner, and Ghostface heads back the other direction. Sidney sees the Ghostface isn't following and starts making a phone call on Jill's cell. Sidney tries every window and gets Dewey on the line, telling them that she's at Kirby's and that the killer is here. He says he's on his way, and that's when Ghostface comes around the corner and hits her, sending her rolling off the roof, and she catches the rain gutter. Dewey tells Hicks that all units go to 329 Whispering Lane, and he runs for his vehicle. Ghostface slashes at Sidney's hands, and she drops off the side of the house, which isn't as far because it's built on a hill, and this angle, the ground is closer. She runs inside to find Kirby, who tells her that she tried to call 911, but the landline is down, and someone smashed the router. I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
They run in the side of the room, which leads down to a lower level of the house because it's built on a hill. They can see the outside. Charlie's banging the door, but Kirby goes to let him in. She notices there's blood on his hands, and he says that he just found Robbie this way. Sidney tells her if she doesn't trust him, she can't let him in, and to get away from the door. He keeps banging until Ghostface comes behind him, grabs him, bangs his head against the wall a couple times. Then the screen goes completely black because someone turned off the lights. We cut to see all the police vehicles are still on their way, and they cut back to the lights coming back on, and Charlie is tied up to a chair like Steven was in Scream 1. Kirby screams for them to leave him alone, and the phone rings, which she says it's from Charlie's phone. On the other line is Ghostface, who says it's all because of Sidney, and if she would like to take her place, she would be killed quick. Sidney says she wants to go find Jill because they should all be in the same place, which sort of doesn't make sense because she's leaving Kirby alone to accomplish this.
I would tend to agree.
Kirby asks Ghostface to let Charlie go, and Ghostface says that he's ready for some trivia. Kirby says that Charlie is the expert, not her. He asks Jason's weapon, and she says machete, which is correct, though I'd like to argue he's killed many people in many different ways, and my favorite is a sleeping bag, which he banged against a tree while the person was in it.
I guess that would do it if you banged it enough.
Ghostface says that she knows the genre and asks Michael Myers, and he says butcher knife. Leatherface, she says chainsaw. Freddy Krueger, she says razor hands instead of razor fingers, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The next question is to name the movie that started the slasher craze, and he gives her the options: Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Last House on the Left, or Psycho. She says Psycho, and he says she is wrong, citing that Peeping Tom from 1960 is the correct answer, which was directed by Michael Powell and was the first movie to put audiences in the viewpoint of the killer.
I've never seen this movie.
Me either. I thought they would have put Black Christmas on the list because it's before Halloween. And it also has the killer's POV.
I guess I should see Peeping Tom now.
Yeah, okay. Kirby asks one more question, and Ghostface agrees. So I'm going to quote him here because it gets interrupted. Name the remake of the groundbreaking horror movie in which the villain... And then Kirby interrupts him, doesn't let him finish the question, and starts spitting out a lot of answers. She says, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, Dawn of the Dead, The Hills Have Eyes, Amityville Horror, Last House on the Left, Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, My Bloody Valentine, When a Stranger Calls, Prom Night, Black Christmas, House of Wax, The Fog, Piranha. It's one of those, right? And then Charlie isn't stabbed. Kirby's like, I got it right. Charlie's free to go. Oh my
Dang.
gosh. Everybody in the commentary is like, how'd you memorize that? It was great. We cut to Sydney, who sees that Jill is not under the bed anymore. Kirby removes all the tape from Charlie, telling him that she fucking won. When she finishes unwrapping his feet, she helps him to stand up. That's when he tells her, Kirby, this is making a move, and we see a knife in his hands that goes right into her gut. He pulls out the knife and asks her how, after 4 years of being in the same class together, now is when she decides to notice him. And he tells her it's too late and stabs her again.
This is interesting because wasn't his equivalent character also one of the two killers in the original movie?
I don't know. It depends. Do you think he's more the Randy or you think he's this? Yeah, I guess he is Stu. And Stu is one of the killers.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
She tries to plead with him, and he says he knows that it doesn't happen as fast as it does in the movies. And then he leaves her on the ground and walks away and looking frustrated. Interestingly, though, we never see her die. And someone asked in the commentary, was it in her contract to not see her character actually die? And she said that it was actually Wes Craven's idea that he didn't want to make it clear-cut whether she died or not. So he could leave her open to be in possible sequels.
Oh, okay.
Sydney starts to walk down the stairs, but with the lights on, feels like something is wrong. She calls out for Kirby, and Charlie runs in to grab her around the neck, holding a knife to her throat. And while I looked it up, he is just 1 inch shorter than her. He looks way shorter to her when he's trying to grab her by the neck. He tells her he's learned a lot by watching her movies over and over again, and the plot always revolves around trying to kill her. Sydney wants to know where Jill is, and Charlie asks if she thinks Jill is going to get away, because no one gets away. Sydney backs him into a wall, freeing herself, and tries to run out the front door when she is stabbed in the gut by Ghostface. Ghostface pulls off the mask, says, hello, Sydney, surprise. And at this point, I sure was.
I was too.
When it turns out that it is Jill.
The person who was supposed to be the new Sydney.
Right. So they sort of
did make Sydney the killer, just
right.
not old Sydney.
Right. She tells Sydney that this is the part where they turn the cameras off. Robbie pulls Sydney's hair and pulls her into the kitchen, because this is a Scream remake, you gotta have a kitchen scene, and tells Jill he's got a lot of great footage of his kill with Robbie, way better than his kill of Ginny, Marty, or Olivia. Jill, who is holding a knife on Sydney, says that they will get to edit and upload the footage later and make it all traceable to Trevor. Charlie uses this as a segue and goes to the closet to pull out Trevor, the same way Sydney's dad was pulled out of the closet in Scream 1. Which Charlie himself pulls attention to because they are recreating Stab 1.
Yeah.
Jill tells Sydney that if she thinks she had a shitty boyfriend, here's one that fucked her, dumped her, and didn't even make her famous. But I have to say that Sydney's boyfriend tried to kill her, so she still wins.
Yeah.
Charlie hands Jill one of the deputies, Glock 17, and Jill tells Trevor that he shouldn't have killed all those people and recorded himself doing it. But it means a lot to her that he did it all for her. She then says she's not the girl you cheat on, and then shoots around right into his junk. Charlie tells her that he's been through everything, and they are definitely good on their timeline. And Jill tells him that they are perfect shots and shoots Trevor in the forehead.
Which I kind of saw coming.
Yeah.
I think.
Behind the scenes, Wes Craven says the actor playing Trevor was really worried about an exploding dye pack that close to his junk.
Ooh. Yeah. Come to think of it. Yeah.
Jill makes a comment that no one reads anymore, and then they need to make a movie because that's what they do now. Charlie says that this time Randy gets the girl, which was in an early script for the original Scream movie that Randy was supposed to get Sydney.
Interesting.
Jill explains that growing up, related to Sydney, all she heard about was Sydney this and Sydney that, which sounds a lot like Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Sydney tells her that she's going to slip because the killers always slip. Like they always mess up. They go for the cutting scene like Billy and Stu had, where Charlie's ready to get cut in the shoulder. Jill then stabs him right in the heart because she wants to be famous alone. And Sydney explains to Charlie that she's setting him up to be Trevor's partner. Sydney asks why she would even kill her friend, and Jill says she doesn't need friends, she needs fans.
But I absolutely knew she was going to do that. You can't have two killers without one of them killing the other.
Yeah, no secret can be kept if two people know it.
No, the old saying is 3 can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead.
Okay,
That's right.
She then explains that it wasn't about killing Sydney, it was about becoming Sydney, which is why her mother had to die, which is sick, but sick is the new sane. She then stabs Sydney again.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. Right? It's supposed to be like 40's the new 20 or whatever.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't make in this case, in this context, what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, actually, maybe you could take some meaning out of that. Like nowadays, the crazy ones are the heroes. You got to be crazy to be considered normal, and if you're normal, you're considered crazy because you're normal, and it's not normal to be normal. I'm confusing myself now. Go ahead.
Okay. Sydney hits the floor. Now, instead of finishing off Sydney, she has time to set up the rest of her plan, which includes cutting Trevor's bindings, removing the prints, getting his prints on the weapons, ripping her hair out in his hands, then beating the shit out of herself like she's the star of Liar Liar. This includes a stab to the shoulder, which is important for later. The cops finally arrive. She's laying on the floor next to Sydney. As they wheel her out on a stretcher, she's getting so much media attention, and the reporters ask her what it's like to be a hero. We then cut to her in the hospital bed, all scratched up, and Dewey is talking to her. She is playing up the victim, saying how sad she is that her family and friends have died. She asks Dewey about Gail, who is in recovery. She says that if she ever writes a book, she'd like Gail to write one with her. Then says they'd make a good team with their matching wounds. Dewey tells Jill that Sydney isn't dead yet, and you could physically watch her try to hold back a reaction of, oh shit, which is good acting.
Yeah.
She says they'll have to wait and see, and Dewey mentions that she isn't awake yet, and she might not remember anything, and we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I didn't think she was going to be dead because they're never going to kill Sydney, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, yeah, that's true. I haven't seen the rest of the movies. So
Yeah, right. They throw in this amnesia line because an original idea for a new trilogy was that Jill would have survived, but Sydney would have woke up without a memory of what happened. Huh. And so she would have to live not knowing who the killer was, and the killer's still after her.
That would be pretty clever, actually.
Yeah, but they didn't go with it.
That's too bad.
Yeah. The reason they might not have gone with it is because the original ending had leaked online, and they had to rewrite it a little bit.
Oh, that's a pity.
Which happened in Scream 2 as well. Like, they changed the outcome because it leaked online. Dewey leaves, telling her to get some rest, and she pretends to, but as soon as he leaves, the score gets loud, and she opens her eyes. She pulls off the leads, which for some reason doesn't attract a nurse to come check on her. She looks down the hall. There is a nurse that passes by but doesn't stop. We cut to Dewey in Gail's room, who asks about Jill. Dewey says that she's a strong kid and mentions that she asked about Gail. He mentions the idea of writing a book together and the matching wounds. It takes a second, but Gail asks how she knew she was stabbed in the shoulder, and this is where Dewey gets it and starts running. And Sydney had said that she would eventually slip.
There were so many. I'm like, it's such a classic.
Yeah,
trope.
But if we're talking about it now, like, she talked about how we'll upload and edit the footage later to blame it on Trevor, but she never had time to do any of that.
Yeah.
If she uploads it after Trevor's did, how is it supposed to be Trevor that did it?
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Now in Sydney's room, she wakes up, and Jill's there telling her, you won't die, and asks her if she's Michael fucking Myers. And I'm like, you didn't even wait to see if Sydney had amnesia, because you've been like, are you okay? Did you survive okay? And then see how she responds before you act that way. Sydney tries for the emergency button, but Jill yanks it out of the wall, then proceeds to hop on top of her and tries to strangle her. They fight, end up on the floor. Jill messing with Sydney's stab wound, which is an instant pain delivery. When they get back up, you could totally see that it's a stunt person wearing a wig who's pretending to be Sydney, who's thrown against the wall and punched. In the hallway.
It's a dude with big bulging muscles.
It could have been a woman, but it was not her face. Dewey's running while calling over the radio for Hicks to report to Sydney's room and call for more backup. We see Jill is hiding in the closet where she finds a stainless steel bedpan. Dewey runs in with his Glock 19 out, and then when he sees Sydney on the floor, he goes to check on her. Sydney tries to warn him, but he comically is hit across the face with the bedpan, and Jill hits him a total of 6 times before she throws this weapon away.
Which makes sense, because we know Sydney's got to be the one to kill her. I mean, it's standard rules.
She then takes Dewey's gun. Jill tells Sydney that the ending of the movie was supposed to be the house, and this ending is just silly. Sid tells her to consider it an alternative ending and tells Jill that this will never stick and she's not going to get away with this. And Sydney has a point here. I mean, like, if you've already killed off both the people that are supposed to be killers and more dead people show up, no one's just going to believe the timeline. Yeah. It doesn't work.
No one said she was a genius.
Right, of course. Jill says, of course, she'll get away with it, and that's when Gail shows up. Gail tries to talk to her about the book, and right as Jill is going to fire, Hicks runs in to save Gil's life and pulls them both behind the bed. And so Hicks goes up in some points for me here because she saved Gale's life, even though they're like opposite teams.
Yeah.
Hicks gets her Glock 17 ready, but Jill tells her that if she even thinks about shooting, she will blow Dewey's head off. Jill demands Hicks's gun, and she seems to stall a little as Sidney starts to get up. Then Jill shoots Hicks in the chest, and she goes down. Jill then orders Gale to get up and move from behind the bed. We see Dewey starting to come to, and Gale asks Jill if she can have a final word. Sidney can be seen turning on the defibrillator, turning it up to more power. Jill thinks that Gale is going to say please, but Gale says clear. Jill doesn't understand, but Sidney says clear behind her, putting the paddles against each side of her, and zaps her, sending her flying across the floor, which is not exactly how defibrillators work. And you also don't really have to say clear, because that could have given it away that she was there.
But you also, if you're
It's
in a
funny.
movie, you got to have an action hero line, right?
And that's the action. You're so right. You're so right. Sidney then tells Jill she forgot the first rule of a remake, which is don't fuck with the original, which I don't think people really don't do, because, man, remakes really totally go different directions. Anyway.
Unfortunately, I wish more people knew that rule and followed it.
Well,
yeah.
I do like sometimes when they're a different movie, because it's boring to see the same movie, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just like literally killing off the original, right? Like they did in the freaking Star Trek reboot.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do that, in my opinion. You don't
Okay,
do that.
good point.
You
Or the
don't do
A-Team
that.
crushing the van in the first 3 minutes. Like, no. We see Jill grab a large piece of glass, and while Dewey says she was standing right behind him, Sidney says they always are, grabs the gun that Jill dropped, shoots Jill in the chest. Sidney lays down. Hicks gets up and tells Sid, nice one. Gale shocks that Hicks is alive. She pulls open her shirt and says, wear the vest, save your chest, and then comically collapses on the floor again. Dewey calls over the radio that 2 officers down, several injuries, and a new suspect. Gale gets up and runs to the hallway, saying they need a doctor. And still lying on the ground, Sidney looks into Jill's dead eyes and tells her she feels a lot better. We cut to outside where several news reporters are recording, and all unfortunately giving reports of Jill being the only survivor. One calling this the Woodsboro reboot, another crediting Jill as single-handedly stopping the killing spree, and another one calling Jill an American hero. And wow, are they going to have to suck that up and cancel those reports the next day.
Yep.
We pan to Jill's face as we see her lying there dead. And then the credits end there.
I wonder if there was a message behind, like, the showing all the media just spewing garbage, right? Like, they're
In 2011, maybe?
talking something about how the media tends to sort of, I guess, be easily manipulated and in some ways the inspiration for the problems.
Okay, so 2 things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Slight spoiler alert, Kirby's alive.
Okay. I'm not terribly surprised.
Right. And some people were like, but they said lone survivor. And I would like to argue that working in a hospital, when a trauma victim comes in, they don't publicly announce that a trauma victim comes in.
Yeah.
They have names like Alpha 156 or Beta 429. Mm-hmm. Like, you have fake names, at least if they know no one else is coming after this person, especially if it's like a gunshot wound. So the news media might not have had any idea that Kirby was still alive when reporting this, which I think is fine, and I think it works. But I do like her as a character, and I'm glad that we get to see her later, which is kind of cool. The only real big issue I had with this movie is that the camera glare on the lenses looked like it was overlit all the time. Their faces looked like they were filming a soap opera. And then the badges that the cops are wearing are so blaring, the light that reflects off of them, that I can't read their badges at any time. No other Scream movie is filmed this way. It just seems weird that the lighting at any nighttime scene just looks way too bright.
Interesting. I did not notice that.
I don't know. I've watched it a lot.
It's
It's
probably
different.
Yeah, it's probably just questionable cinematography.
Yeah, it was just different.
My personal thing was, I felt like the reveal of Jill, I agree with you that was a surprise.
Yeah.
But kind of everything after that played out about the way you would expect.
Sure.
Which I was kind of surprised by. I thought, a movie like this, given the context, would want to save the biggest surprise for last or something in terms of who did what at the very end. But I guess that's not the way it played out.
Yeah, it's true. I've always liked Robbie as killer more than I liked Jill, per se. But it's hard when you look at the movies because, in the first one, both Billy and Stu were just so iconic at this point.
Right.
But Stu was funnier.
Yeah.
And so that's why, he had some really good lines. So it's hard, but I don't know that I like the first viewing. I was like, I don't know if I like those killers, but by now I've watched it so much, I actually do. I like where they went with it. But I get what you're saying. They had some interesting twists, some interesting rules. I thought the new characters were fun. They killed off most of them, but I liked it.
I don't think they really had. What rules did they have that they actually followed? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, they said that the first one has to have an opening ending that blows the doors off, and it did. It's triple opening, the double Inception opening.
All right, that's fair. Okay,
I thought was really good. I mean, I like that they used these characters that were kind of like mirroring the original characters, but I like that they did flip on the head of who we thought the killer would be, which is the person who looks like is being targeted the most, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
But I liked it. Overall, I don't know if it's where I rank it with the others. I mean, I like Scream 1 and 2 more than this one. I think I like this one better than I like Scream 3, as we're going, in order of these. But 5 and 6 I tend to like better than this one. But you haven't seen those yet.
Well, I haven't seen those yet, so I can't say much about it. I thought this one was pretty good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
And we're doing these twice a week for Halloween, so next we will continue with Margot as she will come back for Scream 2022, which they did not elect to name Scream 5. They just named it Scream. And we'll finish it off with Steven, who will cover Scream 6, which came out 2023. And maybe we'll talk about what we think is going to happen in Scream 7 at that point, which comes out next year.
Okay, yeah.
All right, thanks for being here.
And remember, if there's a killer in your life, be sure to die instead of me.
Or buy a gun.
Or that.
They're better than knives.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.